All right. So after the marksman guide went live, I had a couple requests in the Discord for an engineering guide. So this is my guide for engineering. I'm not an engineering expert, but I do know the spec well enough. So here we go. Engineering is basically the plate juggling spec. If you want to be a circus freak and and just juggle for the entire time you play Tor, engineering is the way to go. There's a couple of plates we need to juggle. The first is going to be our interrogation probe. Interrogation probe is kind of our set it and forget it. It says 18 seconds here, but that's actually a lie based on our tactical. We'll get to that in a little bit. Does a ridiculous amount of damage for one ability. In theory, it does 65,000 damage over 18 seconds. But again, that changes because of our tactical. So our job is to keep that up on our target at any time. It also plays a lot into our other abilities, so we want to keep that up as much as possible. And whenever I switch to a target in PvP, interrogation probe is almost always what gets applied first. You can only have one interrogation probe up at a single time, so you can't dot up the whole field with interrogation probes. So just keep that in mind. It's when you're switching targets, both in PvE and in PvP, you need to be applying your interrogation probe to your primary target so that the rest of your abilities are going to work right. The second thing we need to go here is going to be our electrified railgun. Electrified railgun stacks up to 3 times. You can see here, and has a very short cooldown window. So depending on how recently you've applied something that's going to give you electrified railgun, you have about 6 seconds to get something off that's also going to apply railgun. It can be applied through a couple of different abilities. The first is going to be series of shots, which obviously hits 3 times, so it's going to give you 3 stacks, assuming you actually hit your target. So 3 stacks. It can be applied through snipe. It can be applied through a series of shots. It can be applied through fragmentation grenade, and it can be applied through takedown. Now, obviously, I can't take down the target yet because I'm not at 20% health, but those are the main abilities that you can use to apply electrified railgun to the target, and is our second thing to juggle. The third ability to juggle is going to be our plasma probe. Plasma probe does about 16,000 damage to a target at a base, but there's some utilities that make that do a little bit more damage. There's some extra crit chance based on area of effect abilities. And it also helps out with some of our other abilities. So keeping Plasma Probe up on the target at all times is a high priority. Unfortunately, Plasma Probe doesn't really give you a cooldown timer. Like, it doesn't really have the 9 seconds, oh, it's time to apply your Plasma Probe again, right? So you have, a series of stats, oh, it's cooldown, coming off cooldown, time to go. Your fragmentation, oh, it's coming off cooldown, time to go. Plasma Probe doesn't have that. You can apply Plasma Probe wherever you want, but you kind of have to keep a mental timer on how long Plasma Probe has lasted for you to cast it again, right? So there's nothing telling me here that, oh, Plasma Probe is coming off cooldown, time to cast it again. So the way to really keep track of your Plasma Probe is by casting it always after a series of shots. Series of shots has a 3-second cast time and about a 8-second cooldown. So that lines up about perfectly with the time that it's going to take for your Plasma Probe to come off. So whenever you cast series of shots, just immediately cast Plasma Probe immediately after. The third thing to juggle is the Corrosive Dart. Corrosive Dart is a dot, does a lot of damage over time. It's the least important of the plates to be juggling, but it is a plate to juggle that you should try to be keeping up as much as possible. It's damage over time, which is kind of what engineering is all about. And now we come to our actually heavy hitting abilities. So let's recap the plates we're juggling real quick. We're juggling Interrogation Probe on target at all times. We're juggling our Stacks Electrified Railgun on target every time. We are juggling Plasma Probe, which we cast after a series of shots every time. And we are trying to apply Corrosive Dart and keep it up as much as possible. Series of shots should be cast on cooldown, in case that wasn't obvious, that most of our damage comes from there. So now our main primary damaging abilities. So you can see here that EMT Discharge is lighting up all the time because I have my Interrogation Probe on it and I have 3 stacks of Electrified Railgun. What EMP Discharge does is if you have Interrogation Probe on the target and you have 3 stacks of series of shots, it's going to do more damage. And then if you have the Plasma Probe on there as well, it's going to stun the target. It's a very cheap and easy way to get a stun on someone, especially in PvP. They're not really expecting a ranged stun to come out of someone. and you can hit them with it every 15 seconds. So very handy little ability, does a moderate amount of damage, and then applies a very nice stun. It also triggers it makes your next frag grenade free. So typically what you're going to be doing is you're going to be EMP discharging right into frag grenade. Frag grenade kind of is our filler ability. It does about the same amount of damage as a snipe, except it does AoE damage on top of that, and it is instant cast, so you're not trying to juggle your stacks of electrified railgun. So say here you're sitting here and you're like, oh, my railgun's about to run off, I don't have time to get a snipe off. You can instantly cast a fragmentation grenade, and then you get your stacks built up that way as well. Finally, we come to the old school big sniper ability, which is Explosive Probe. Doesn't do quite as much damage as it used to. It's not quite the big heavy hitter that it used to be, but it still is a lot of damage. And what Explosive Probe does is it places a explosive probe on the target that detonates when one of your abilities hit it, and then it drops these cluster bombs afterward, which detonate as well and gives your screen this nice little effect. Very satisfying to use. It's your main way to do like big sudden damage on a target. Yeah, and that's about it when it comes to your juggling. So to wrap it up one last time, it is Interrogation Probe, juggle 1, Electrified Railgun, juggle 2, Plasma Probe after series of shots every time, juggle 3, and then just filling out your rotation with explosive probes and EMP discharges and corrosive darts is really your juggle 4. This will take some time to get used to. Like there's a lot of plays to be juggling here. The most important ones are going to be keeping your interrogation probe up and keeping your electrified railgun up. If your plasma probe falls off for 2 seconds, oh well, who cares? Obviously, it's less DPS, but it's not that important. And then corrosive dart, obviously, as well. You want to have it up at all times, but if you don't, it's not the end of the world. So this leads us into our ability, or our set bonus. We're going to be taking the established foothold set gear here for engineering, especially with engineering where people do run into energy problems with engineering because it's a little hard to get used to the spec at first. You're panicking and juggling too much at once. What established foothold does is you build stacks every time that you're sitting in trench. So I'll demonstrate here. So I've popped in trench, and these stacks are going to build over time. What these stacks do is provide 3% of extra damage per stack, basically. And so this is obviously 15% extra damage. It's basically free damage, and with some of the utilities that we take, we're going to have that damage up more than we're going to have it down. The tactical that we take is going to be called Ruthless Interrogation. So, Ruthless Interrogation makes the juggling a little bit easier by making your series of shots refresh and tick your interrogation probe. So you can see here, instead of having to click on interrogation probe to refresh the plate here, if we just cast series of shots, it's going to be ticking that damage and bumping it back up. So basically, if you're targeting one target for the entire match, or you have a boss fight, you set it and forget it, and you don't have to juggle it anymore. It's very nice. It also makes your electrified railgun do a lot more damage, which obviously, that's where juggling plates here, that's the nice way to go. The utilities we take are kind of based off of PvP or PvE. For PvE, I would take Ballistic Dampeners, Snapshot, Vital Regulators, Reestablish Range, Hold Your Ground, Augmented Shield, and Stroke of Genius, and then Pillbox Sniper and Tactical Retreat. The reason for Stroke of Genius is it makes your snipe activate instantly if you cast Cover Pulse, and especially when you're doing a lot of boss fights, you don't really use your Cover Pulse for anything good. You're not really knocking away mobs when it's a single target boss fight, right? So it gives you essentially a free snipe that's going to do a little more damage than your frag grenade does, and you just get the snipe for free, which is very nice. Which leads us into the PvP utilities. So first things first, you have to know, if you're going to play Marks or Engineering Sniper in Regs PvP, you're just a bastard, okay? And that's okay. You're a numbers whore. That's the way it's supposed to be. And let me show you why. Because we're going to swap out that Stroke of Genius for Imperial Efficiency if we're playing PvP here in Regs. So let me apply a debuff to my dummy target real quick here. And this is why it is a ridiculous amount of damage. We're going to cast no single target abilities. We're going to cast only AoE abilities for about 30 seconds on a single target. Ready? All right, so we're going to pop our Entrench. We're going to pop our Orbital Strike. We're going to pop our Plasma Probe. And then we're going to go to town here. Now, when you're doing this AoE rotation, with quote-unquote rotation, after you cast 2 Suppressive Fires, put your Plasma Probe back down. Again, that's about the right amount of time it takes for all of your Plasma Probe to run out, 8 seconds to 9 seconds. Very handy. I'm putting this back down. And again, I'm not really trying that much here to do a ridiculous amount of damage. All right, demonstration over. Now I'm going to pull over the current combat and show you, once it ends, it's taking a hot second here to come off, over, let's say, the first 30 seconds here, on a single target, we did 12k DPS. Yeah, on one target, with only AoE abilities. Now, multiply that by 2 targets, or 3 targets, or 4 targets, or 5, 6, 7, 8, blah, 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 blah. You can see why engineering snipers have the reputation as number whores, because, well, we are. It is a bit of a obnoxious way to farm damage, but, I mean, if you're dealing with 4 people stacked up on top of a door, well, I mean, they're not going to kill themselves, right? So we got to help them along with that process. That is the long and short of the offensive rotation. I'll walk through a quick dummy opening rotation here. So Engineering Sniper has the ability to cast Orbital Strike in 1 second, which is different than what it usually is for the other specs. So keep that in mind. So an opening rotation might look like Orbital Strike into a Snipe, into Explosive Probe, and then we just start juggling. So we're going to apply Interrogation Probe, get our rail shots running, put down our probe, and then we're just going to keep juggling. So a series of shots comes off cooldown, we cast it, we cast Interrogation Probe, we fill with Explosive Probe and Grenade, and then we, again, instant cast series of shots, put down instant Interrogation Probe, and this is kind of the basics. Done, 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 Interrogation Probe. And then you kind of fill with Frag Grenade and Snipe once in a while if you can. Entrench will help you with your energy management. So if you're running into problems, try to get your established foothold secure as quickly as possible. It's going to help a lot with your energy management. Side note, for if you're running into energy problems, I say this before, fix your energy problems before they become a real problem, right? The way that sniper energy works is that the less energy you have, the slower it regens. So if you're getting down to 60 or 50 energy, pop your Adrenaline Probe there, or like Hakuna your Tatas for a little bit. It's better to take the short-term L than it is to really get down to like, 20 energy or 15 energy. Then you're really going to have a long time to get back in the game, and that's just no fun. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut the video here, and then we get into a PvP match, and I'll show you how it's going to work in the real world. I'll talk to you in a second. All right, so we tried to record there, and then we chunked out of time, and then we ran through the entire Void Star in about 2.5 minutes. I also dropped a whole bunch of frames, so I'm probably going to cut out that first half. It wasn't exactly a how to do damage in PvP game, and more of a how to run past everyone and get behind the other team and not kill them. And then plant all the doors and win games. So that might be coming later. Who knows? A separate video, but it wasn't exactly what we're looking for here. So, okay. We'll get on this guy. He looks like he's at least moderately alone. So again, we're going to put our Interrogation Probe down. We're going to cast up here. And then we're going to detonate. Don't let this guy plant the door. Because we're switching targets, we had to put our Interrogation Probe down on him. We're going to throw up our... Okay, hold up. Throw up our shield here to hopefully prevent some of that damage. And again, we're just number farming there, so that's totally fine. We're going to smoke this guy so he doesn't do as much damage to me. But while we're here, we're going to also run away. While he's smoked up, we can grab that. now he's gone. Cool. I'm going to make that guy disappear. Alright, let's hop back over to the other side. It looks like they're all going to be farming over here on this side. This is Indica pre-made, so they farm a lot of damage. They don't exactly kill. It's alright. So, alright, let's hopefully get them all to stack up here. And then we're just going to get some AoE farming in here. So again, there's 2 or 3 targets here, so we can just put down all of our AoE at once. And then not worry at all about any consequences for our actions, except when they're going to be right here. Okay. Putting down all of our AoE damage. We're probably going to die here. That's fine. Alright, there's a whole bunch of guys here, so we're just going to farm damage. There's nothing wrong with this, especially in a game like this where it's so done. There's no shame in just doing a little farming. It's honest work, but, you know. That's fine. 58 seconds left. Yeah, we literally blitzed through their entire team in the first half, so, I mean, the team we're playing against is just here to numbers farm, right? They're not here for objectives, which explains why we're going to win this game. But yeah, again, we see a bunch of targets, especially in engineering. That means we put down all of our stuff. And then we numbers farm. 3 targets. Where goes the dynamite? Okay, we need to get out of here. Oh, never mind. There's a guy there. Alright. Game over. And that's engineering sniper in a nutshell. We saw a little bit of the single target damage, and we saw a little bit of the AoE farming damage. It's not going to be the world's highest damage game, because again, we just blitzed through a bunch of people. But even still, I mean, in that short period of time, and most of it was spent running, we had our highest damage on our team. So that's engineering engineering sniper in a nutshell. It's all about juggling your plates, and whenever you see a bunch of people, put down your AoEs and do a whole bunch of damage. So that is it. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. I'm not the universal expert here when it comes to engineering sniper. I just know it a little bit. And that is the game. I hope you guys have a good day. Adios. Alright. So we got a Void Storm, thank God. While we're sitting here waiting for the doors to tick down, I'll talk through a couple of the other tacticals. There is the Turo Ionic Charge. What this does is it makes your explosive charge only detonate from your EMP. It's good for like big single target chunk damage, but doesn't provide the same consistent damage, and it doesn't make you not juggle your interrogation probe, which is kind of a nightmare. There's also the splitter shell caps, which is garbage and never use it. All right. Sorry about that. I had to close out some extra tabs I had open. I'm not sure why. All of a sudden decided not to work anymore. You see this guy's running away. Just throw some dots on him. Sounds like his problem. You can't hide from me, bud. I'm sorry. Give him the old stun. Again, that's that stun in action. That's really obnoxious. Even though this guy's tank spec, I mean, we're chewing through him real quick. All right, looks like our frames are back in order here. Drop probing this guy. And then just delete him from all his health bar. One more should do. Dink. Now, it looks like their entire team is back there farming. So we might just cut out this entire second half, because this is not a good example of numbers farming at all. In fact, this is a very poor example. So what we'll do is we're probably just I would just get you the second half of this match, honestly. Because we're just going to keep running here. And if they want to piss around, I mean, that's their problem, not ours. So you see this guy? Alright, run. We're not going to kill these guys back there. If they're back there, they can't be over here planting door. So, here we are. Hopefully this guy is going to sit back here and CC. Or hopefully the operator isn't paying attention. Maybe he is. Who knows? Alright, he's not. Never mind then. We're just going to run through this entire first half. Well, this is a lesson in winning PvP matches. It's not exactly a great... Oh, 1 second. This guy thinks he's going to be cute. Just delete all his health bar real quick. We'll let him cap that. I don't really mind. All right. Well, we're gonna cut the video here because that was too quick. Let's restart.